Hello, everyone. This is Quantum Echo, and welcome to my first YouTube video that features me speaking. In this video, I wanted to begin with some answers to my Q&A that I put out on Instagram and Twitter, or whatever it's called right now. I didn't get many questions, but perhaps I'm not as mysterious as I thought. Without further ado, let me just read those out and answer them. I hope this lecture isn't too boring. The first thing that I received wasn't a question, it was a statement, really. And that was, take care of yourself. Thank you, kind stranger. The second question I received was a bit more of a question. It's from Cesar, or Caesar, or Cesar. To be honest, I meant to ask him when I met him last week. I do apologize if I totally ruined that name. But at least the question is very, very good. The question is, what's usually the creative process behind your music? How long does it take? Well, I think that's a very good question. Basically, I just make things based off of an idea or a feeling, something like that. And this is why a lot of my albums, I feel, are a bit like concept albums by default. And yeah, I just sort of begin with an idea for a song or a track or whatever, and then I try to recreate that kind of mood or feeling sonically, really. It's extremely simple, but that's obviously reflective of, real life or what's going on around me, which I suppose is the same thing, but you know what I mean. It can also be, IRL or URL, And yeah, but how long does it take? That's a good question. I mean, sometimes some tracks can be made in about a couple of hours or something, and they're amazing. And other times they take days because I create an initial idea and then I basically work on it for a while because I'm not sure about I don't think it's good enough in the first sort of instance or whatever, and I have to work on it a bit more. And I think that's been happening for quite a few months for me now. Been taking quite a while with it, really. But yeah, I mean, that's basically me. By the way, this might be a good moment to mention that I did an initial take of this, but unfortunately it recorded really badly, and I don't really know why. I think it was a really weird input setting that I had, and right now I feel really mellow, so that's why my voice is particularly monotonous right now. I hope it's not too boring. But anyway, I also hope that answer was good enough, to be honest. There's not much more I can really say, except I really like to make things that really, I feel happy with, or I feel like are conveying the point or the idea or the concept where I want it to be. And sometimes that doesn't quite work, you know. A creative block is terrible for me because that delays me by like a month or something. But when I'm going through a particularly good patch, I suppose, I can make an album in a month. It really depends. So that was basically all the questions that I had on Instagram. But I did have one question on Twitter, or whatever it's called. And that was from Endless Corridors. The question is, what was your gateway into music production? Well, basically, as I sometimes mention, I've started playing around on GarageBand, you know, how many years ago is it now? Probably about 13 years ago. And I was sort of playing around, really. But I did really enjoy that whole, like, idea-driven sort of play around, really. But basically, I did play the guitar a little bit, as one does when they're younger, I suppose. You know, it's either the piano or the guitar, really, isn't it? But I realized I was more interested in the capability of electronic music and, you know, playing around with GarageBand, using Apple loops and just seeing what sounded nice, you know, made me realize, oh yeah, you know, there's some really interesting sounds here. And of course, I've always been interested in the digital and the electronic world. Even before then, I was certainly very involved on the internet. And trying to think, did the name Quantum Echo predate me using GarageBand? I might have just done. It's hard to say. But yeah, that's another question that wasn't asked, so I'm not going to answer it now. And funnily enough, if you want the answer to that question, you only need to look towards an interview that I did, which was actually broadcast on Voices Radio. So hopefully you can find that, because I think it's on Mixcloud. And I must have linked it before. I'm sorry, I think this is terribly boring, but I wanted to do this as a sort of beginning, an initial idea. And sometimes initial ideas can really, you know, turn into very interesting developments. It doesn't really help that when I re-record this, I sound like I'm really tired or something. But maybe that's because the sun is setting and my body clock is realizing that. Who knows? To quote Daft Punk, we are human after all. I should just end it on that note. That sounds really cool, I think. Anyway, there is one more thing I want to say. And that's, I wanted to get this out before I released my next album. I've wanted to put out music for, well, a long while, since my last one last year, and there are various reasons why I haven't. I've been making stuff in the background, but struggled a bit last year, towards the end of the year. And then I've just been busy seemingly constantly for the past 6 months, I don't know. But I have made lots of things, and I have been inspired by my first trip to Japan, so I think what will come out soon is something along those lines. And a question that hasn't been asked, but I want to answer anyway, is something to do with live performances. And I make a lot of things digitally, but I do really want to do more performances. And, well, who knows, there might be one coming up soon. But you may know more about that nearer the time. thank you for listening. And to be honest, I just wish there was a bit more energy to this recording. But who knows? And sometimes, as I, the broken record, say once again, you just need to start. You just need to create first idea. And then from there you can only build. So, let's see. What does the future hold? Ending on a profound note. How original. Goodbye.